Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Shaping Up for Artificial Intelligence, How to Introduce Chatbots, Virtual Assistants and Intelligent Technologies to the Contact Centre and Beyond. In this session, we will share insights into how we see contact centres developing in the future and focus on some key technologies that will reshape customer interactions and the customer experience. Before we get started, I'd like to go over a few items so you know how to participate in today's event. You will have the opportunity to submit text questions to today's presenters by typing your questions into the questions pane of the control panel. You may send in your questions at any time during the presentation. We will collect these and address them during the Q&A session at the end. We will be recording the webinar today, so please sit back, relax and enjoy the session. I would now like to introduce today's speakers, Richard Brown, Customer Experience Director at activereach, and Anthony Stevenson, Product Director at Enghouse Interactive. Richard, I will now hand over to you to speak on customer service trends and predictions.
Thank you, Lorna. Morning, everyone. My name is Richard Brown. I'll be starting this morning's session before handing over to Anthony. Hopefully you can all see the agenda that we'll be working through this morning. So, to start, I wanted to highlight the top trends we are seeing and the predictions that many analysts are talking about this year. This first point, the customer getting smarter, has been developing for many months, where we see customers being much more informed due to the sheer amount of information available to them. Many have researched and educated themselves, they've read reviews, and they're 80% of the way along the journey before needing assistance. So when they do call, they're expecting someone knowledgeable who can answer their questions. What's interesting is that customers want to self-service where possible. It's the first place they start if the facility is available. One of the reasons we are focusing today on bots and AI is because all the leading analysts predict that the majority of customer interactions will be handled without a human agent by 2020. This is an incredible statistic when you think about it. But at the same time, many of us have already communicated with bots without knowing it. You'll hear lots more about AI today, as it is driving the intelligence behind many self-serve applications. But just as important, AI will assist our human agents to become much more knowledgeable. The final point is about personalisation. If you're not in the business of saving your customers time or making their lives easier, then you risk being disrupted by someone who will. People want experiences that are relevant to them, and evidence suggests that brand loyalty is dying in favour of companies that show a deeper understanding of customer preferences. So we have some statistics from various thought leaders and vendors. It's difficult to get specific statistics for the UK, but whichever report you read, the trends are clear. Improving customer experience is a top objective for 75% of companies. The majority are doing it to set themselves apart from the competition and differentiate their offering. CEOs that put a focus on customer experience are now being rewarded for their focus. You only have to look at Amazon to see where Jeff Bezos' customer-centric drive has propelled them. So the theme from this slide is that valuing people's time, being responsive, offering convenient contact options, and personalising the service are what customers want. Customers don't want to wait, and they don't want to hear about things that aren't relevant. What is clear is that in order to deliver exceptional levels of service, technology is going to play an even bigger part than it does already. In order to meet expectations, companies will be reliant on some level of automation, which is where bots, virtual assistants, and artificial intelligence are being seen as key technologies to help. One of the statistics that surprised me was that mobile apps aren't living up to expectations, and that due to the costs to develop, update, and support, Gartner suggests 20% of brands will abandon them by next year. Many are migrating towards messaging platforms, web apps, and conversational interfaces, our topic of this morning. So it's both businesses and their customers that are driving the transition towards digital channels. Customers want to use communication methods they are familiar with from their private life. And at the same time, companies want to offer web and self-service options to make more information available to customers, and obviously to reduce costs as well. The question about contact preferences has been asked of thousands of people all over the world. A clear theme in the responses is that all age groups prefer to seek their answers through Google, through self-service portals, or through online groups. And generally, they do this before calling into the contact centre. So basically, we don't want to talk with a person first off, and as a Salesforce survey published this year surmised, the majority of online experiences that businesses are providing no longer match the way people want to buy. So visitors frequently fail to solve the issue by themselves and end up having to engage with the contact centre. In this slide, I wanted to highlight how the technology has progressed to where we are today. I hope that you can see the text here, or at least some of it. In 2005, I started working with Enghouse Technologies. They weren't known as Enghouse back then, but they acquired a number of specialist contact center software companies that became part of the Enghouse Interactive group. What is interesting is that this diagram shows what we were offering back in 2007. Within a single product set, we were installing contact centers supporting voice, fax, email, web chat, IVR, speech recognition, messaging, CRM integration, and many other features that have become the norm. We're also integrating them with many of the leading telephony platforms, such as Cisco, Avaya, and even Microsoft OCS, now known as Skype. Fast forward 11 years, and many businesses are now deploying what has been available for years. The main difference in 2018 is that consumers are now demanding multi-channel engagement. And in our connected world, where we are always online via smartphones, on social media, or through mobile apps, this instant gratification for information has raised expectations for immediate responses. Research from Inside Sales and Harvard Business Review shows that if you wait just 5 minutes to respond after a lead first contacts you, there's a 10% decrease in your odds of getting in touch. After 10 minutes, it's a 400% decrease. So in 2018, we have technologies that enable almost instant responses. Chatbots and virtual assistants are two techs driving this change. And we can also integrate some amazing conversational platforms, both with voice and visual interfaces. The digital employee shown here in the picture looks incredibly real, and yet she's a bot driven by AI and available 24 hours a day. So where does automation create value? There is no one-size-fits-all solution. Different companies and their customers all have different requirements. But there will always be the need to balance between automation and human treatment. You may want to start with a layer of automation that can help with basic and routine tasks, but it will be key to ensure your system has the capacity to understand when the customer needs to be escalated to a human agent. The automation could guide the visitor into the appropriate part of the organization if necessary, or it may act as a first responder, taking first contact, answering, prioritizing, or routing the call. Or you may choose to offer a new out-of-hours service. The focus should be for bots to handle routine work, creating time to focus on the new visitors who really need empathy and support. For customer-facing automation, the key is to meet the customer in the regular channels they use. We've already heard that some companies are moving away from dedicated apps towards the ones that people are active in all day. Once we support their favorite channel, we try to solve the customer's problem with automation. If the automation realizes that the visitor's inquiry can't be answered, we make sure to escalate to a human agent. During the handoff, we pass the agent the context of the call, making it easy for them to continue the dialogue correctly. And we build in processes that continuously improve the AI so that it can answer more questions in the future. So what role does the agent have in future? A very important one is the answer. Automation doesn't always work, so escalation is needed to the right person. A visitor who first tries to solve the problem themselves but fails will have a higher expectation that the agent solving their problem that the agent will solve their problem once they get through. So future agents will need to solve more complex problems whilst in dialogue with the visitor. In addition to this, the agent will be speaking with customers in need of empathy and focus. You only have to think of a time when something has gone badly wrong. You would want someone with understanding and empathy for the situation. An automated response may not go down so well. And finally, automation of the contact center isn't just about technology. You will need to equip the agents with new capabilities and competences. Many are using the term super agents. I'll now hand over to Anthony.
Here. Thank you, Richard. So what is a virtual assistant? So virtual assistants are a method of enabling customers to find answers to questions or undertake discrete transactions over various digital channels. This can include interactions that are initiated during a visit to a business's website and also interactions via messaging apps such as Facebook Messenger or SMS. There's been a significant increase in the number of conversations within messaging apps in people's day-to-day communication, and therefore consumers expect businesses to offer support for these channels as well. Virtual assistants makes use of AI platforms and technologies such as natural language understanding and machine learning. Natural language understanding is a process whereby applications can determine what a customer is asking for, or in other words, determine their intention. Once a customer's intent has been determined, the application can ask other leading questions or deliver an appropriate response immediately. This involves building a language model about the appropriate subject matter. As an example, we would understand the following three phrases to mean the same thing. I can no longer make an appointment. I've managed to double book. I need to change the day of my appointment. Machine learning then is a process of refining and improving the language model over time based upon customers' interactions and also input from system supervisors such as super agents. Virtual assistants can be used to help automate various different tasks. To help break this down, we talk about three types of use cases, these being a task bot, an info bot, and a helper bot. A task bot can be thought of as an automated process that will undertake common tasks on behalf of the customer. Examples of this might be checking a balance, resetting a password, or organising an appointment. This is a very similar role to that has been performed by voice IVR solutions for many years by lots of organisations. So a key aspect to a task bot is that it will require integration into the business's back-end systems, such as a CRM solution that contains important details about the customer, for example, what products they have already purchased and whether they have any outstanding payments. So this information is then used to direct the interaction and may also be updated based upon the customer's requests. Also be aware that there are many situations where virtual assistants can't process. So in these cases, it must be very easy to transition the customer to assisted service and give the agent the context about the interaction up to that point. We were planning to show a video today, but unfortunately we can't. So after the event, we will send out a link to a video. What the video is demonstrating is initially the chatbot being instigated via an outbound notification over SMS. Then we lead into a two-way dialogue, and from a customer perspective, it appears to be an agent that they're conversing with. After the appointment's been rebooked, we then actually the chatbot looks up the customer's details, in this case in a health system, and determines that they need to ask a few additional queries So we instigate a web application survey, and that results in intelligent escalation assisted service. So I think hopefully you'll find the videos quite a nice way of demonstrating how chatbots can be part of that overall communications. So what tasks are suitable for self-service or chatbots? Let's say this is a common problem, be it voice or messaging applications. So it's important to understand which types of customer interactions are suitable. In order to get a good return on your investment, you need to identify which tasks are high frequency, but also simple and straightforward. Complex or low frequency or emotive tasks should actually be processed by your contact center agents. So far with the webinar, we've just focused on appointments as an example. However, there are lots of interactions that are very suitable to automation. Here you can see just a few. We've been deploying intelligent routing chatbots in both e-commerce and support scenarios. So in this case, the chatbot is gathering additional information in order to route the interaction to the correct department. We're also working with a large financial institution that wants to create an automation suite for their internal IT support desk. So tasks like password resets, getting updates on support tickets, reserving parking, along with many other tasks are all automated. So the Infobot, this is an enhancement to common web-based knowledge bases. A common customer frustration with portals and knowledge bases are they're very hard to navigate, or you have to be very precise with your query. They're also not necessarily well designed for access from mobile devices. So by enabling your knowledge base to be queried using natural language and via a streamlined interface such as messaging apps, customers can get the answers they want when in a rush. These queries may result in escalation to a task bot or assisted service, so having a connected set of systems is very important as part of a rich customer care solution. The Helper Bot, this is designed to use AI to help your agents during their day-to-day interactions. The objectives are to ensure customers get a quick and consistent answer to their problems. So a Helper Bot is a progression on response libraries and internal knowledge bases that agents use today. However, now your bot is actively monitoring the customer interaction and suggesting appropriate responses to that agent. So to summarize, some of the benefits of virtual assistants. So once you've deployed a virtual assistant, you can greatly improve overall customer service by enabling that 24/7 service for customers. These can intelligently react to situations in a business, such as using notifications to keep your customers informed of service outages, delivery updates, or pending appointments. And by deflecting these frequent tasks to virtual assistants, it allows your agents to focus on more complex, more emotive tasks. So proactive two-way notifications. So virtual assistants can be invoked directly by customers who are interacting with your website, or they can be put to action in response to proactive notifications. Using a notification platform, you can easily keep customers informed about compelling events. However, be aware that these notifications may also result in that two-way dialogue with the customer. It's important to use the most appropriate channel for the notification, so you should consider email messaging channels, such as SMS, but also the voice channel. These can all easily lead to an automated service, be that a chatbot, a voice IVR, or a web app. So just as an example, the appointments are common across many verticals. These could be health related or home visits for a service engineer or a specialist. The cost of missing such an appointment can be expensive, both to the end customer, but also your business. So using automated reminders will lead to a reduction in missed appointments that would have otherwise been forgotten, but also allow your customer to reschedule if that is appropriate by conversing with the chatbot. So I just want to cover how and where AI fits in. AI is a huge topic that is gaining momentum every day, and its use is being applied in so many areas of business. We think of AI as not just artificial intelligence, but also augmented intelligence. We see the use of machines and computers in assisting humans rather than taking over completely. The views from most experts is that we are still a long way from true artificial intelligence, where machines actually take over. Fundamentally, the technology is trying to mimic human behavior, and with its library of data at hand, it should become very accurate. But just like agents don't always get it right, bots will also get things wrong until trained properly. But the benefit with the chatbot is in theory, you only train it for once. So following on from this, will be an accompanying white paper to go with today's webinar and also the video. The white paper will cover AI in a little bit more detail. Thank you.
Thanks, Anthony. So just want to go through the challenges that we'll have along the way. So just as a new employee needs training, the same is true for automation. Building a simple bot is quite simple, but building a good bot is very hard. Some of the challenges to think about are shown here, but there are indeed many others. So, do you have a good knowledge base to tap into? Are your systems open and ready for integration? If you have to set up a completely separate knowledge base, then you're going to be duplicating effort. Think about what value you'll be adding. It must make customers' lives easier, save them time, and give them the answers they need. You'll need a handoff process and the resources for escalation. This could be challenging, especially during peak hours or outside of business hours. What personality do you want to give your bot? It will represent your brand identity. So will it be professional, friendly, chatty, fun? Will you use emojis? You also get to choose the voice that best represents your image. Then there, of course, is the budget. This can actually start quite small, but it can quickly grow if you want to start adding complexity. So where to start? The key point here is to understand what you're trying to achieve. In the perfect world, you'd have an unlimited team of knowledgeable, intelligent, and polite representatives who are available 24 hours a day. With technology, we're trying to mimic this amazing team and introduce AI to add the intelligence. So if we think about recruiting a new agent, how would the job spec read? You'd probably start them on the easier, more common and less complex inquiries. So do you have the knowledge base? Is it an intranet or a CRM system or something else? For both a customer-facing bot or a virtual assistant, you need the up-to-date information. And you should identify scenarios that make sense to automate. Which transactions will customers feel comfortable using? Or are you introducing a new service or an out-of-hours service? It must be something of value to your customers. So the trick is not to take on too much in the beginning. So we need to be pragmatic and start small, unless of course you've got a serious problem to address and slightly larger budgets. Understand your customers and what channels are convenient for them. It's worth pointing out that nearly every demographic is becoming more familiar with technology nowadays. Clearly, if you can offer a range of options from web to messaging apps, voice interface and video chat, then you cover all bases. We do advise testing the water. Do your research to gauge interest, and once you have a working prototype, see how your audience engage and interact with it. The technology we've discussed today doesn't require you to rip out your existing contact center, telephony, or UC systems. If your systems don't work, we'll happily work with you to explore your options. But if you do want to retain current systems, then we can run alongside and complement them. We will then integrate to ensure there are always ways to escalate to a human, ensuring the best possible experience. And for those of you not familiar with us, we try to work to your budget. Enghouse is positioned very highly in Gartner's Magic Quadrant for contact centers, and they serve many global enterprises. But we also do projects that have been delivered to thousands of small companies, many that don't have large budgets. My final point is just to say that this technology is not going away. You only have to look at the progression in the consumer space with Alexa, Google Assistant, Siri, and with messenger clients like WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger. Consumer take-up is accelerating, and it won't be long before they expect all businesses to offer the same ways to communicate. So the sooner you start developing some simple services, the quicker you can start adding more powerful functionality that begins to transform your customer engagement.
Thank you, Richard. We're now going to begin answering the questions submitted during today's presentation. As a reminder, you can still submit your questions through the questions pane in the attendee control panel. We'll do our best to answer as many questions as we can during today's session. If not, we will follow up with you directly after this session. So our first question that we've had in is around chatbots. So how do you get people to engage with the chatbot if there is a reluctance for people to use it? I'll pass that one over to Anthony to answer.
Thank you, Lorna. So two elements, and we made reference to it briefly earlier, but the first thing is getting your website tuned correctly. So if you've got a chatbot, you want it to pop up at the right time and not become annoying. All too often I just ignore the web chat channel because it's become a bit of a hindrance rather than aiding my interaction. So getting those metrics right is important. The other one is then to consider using is notifications. So keeping people informed about events that are relevant to them, be those deliveries, appointments, and so on. And that's a great way of promoting the use of your self-service channels, be that chat, voice, or otherwise.
Thank you, Anthony. Just moving on to the next few questions. Can I confirm that you build this service and the engine once, and that it will work across all channels? So I'll pass that one again to Anthony to respond to.
Absolutely. The key product line behind this is an omni-channel self-service platform. So, you know, a large part of the cost with these systems is going to be that back-end integration into your CRM or your database and defining those workflows that are appropriate for those interactions. So making that same workflow and that intelligence available via voice, or chat, or apps is really key to bringing down that cost and increasing your return on investment.
Okay, thank you. A few more questions that are coming in. Is there a live system available for us to go and see in action? Anthony?
We're working on the appointment chatbots piece at the moment, and that will be available soon. We can demonstrate that. I'd say the video goes through a great example of that in use. We've got live deployments of the intelligent routing chatbots in field, and we can work on getting some references for those in the meantime.
Okay, thank you. We've had a couple of people asking the same kind of questions about being able to access any live examples. So if you would like to speak to Richard after the webinar, please do get in touch and we can arrange that for you. Just moving on to some more questions. What is the main difference between a simple bot that is an add-on to a website and what you're showing today? I'll pass that one over to Richard. Please.
Sure, thank you. So yeah, we are seeing sort of more and more chatbots appear on websites and sort of, I suppose you would say, low-end chatbots appearing. I think the key difference here is really you want something that can support all the channels. So if someone's coming through the web, then absolutely, but also you want to have something, as Anthony mentioned, that's omni-channel. So if someone, you set up an engine in the background once, and if someone wants to come in via a messenger or natural language speech, it's looking up, it's one integration into your databases, it's one workflow that it's following. And you write it once and then make it available across all the different channels that you want to present to your customers. The other thing that's important here is it's very rare that you're going to get this right first time. And when things go wrong, we talked about needing to escalate to a live agent. Clearly, if you've got something here that can integrate into your contact center or can then sort of enable various other agents, then you've got the means to escalate and to report on what's going on across all of those channels. So it's not having one particular service in isolation. You're able to roll this out across all the channels that you need to.
Thank you, Richard. Another question which I'll pass over to Anthony. As an Enghouse customer using Enghouse CC and Touchpoint and QMS with Skype, what modules or software need to be purchased and what training is required? Can a staff member be trained to build bots? So how technical does the person need to be? Thank you, Anthony.
Thanks for the question. So yes, there's some additional license add-ons on top of what, in this case, you've already got with EICC and call recording. So the product underneath it is what we call communications portal. This is a tightly integrated component with EICC. In terms of what training is required, so for the infobot, that is very much having your agents, your super agents, maintaining the knowledge base and the intent libraries. So that could be, undertaken, within by a contact center supervisor. For the task bot, that's probably a lot more technically orientated because of the back-end database integrations and so forth. But the actual product, it's got a visual design studio and is used by our ISVs, but also some large customers as well are building intelligent voice IVRs and therefore chatbots as well.
Okay, thank you, Anthony. Interesting question here. With such a diverse community in our local area, would accents be identified easily by a chatbot? Shall I pass that over to Richard?
Yeah, sure. So this is where I think the most gains have been made over the past 2 or 3 years in natural language understanding and processing. If you go back just 2 or 3 years, I think they were quoting about 91% accuracy for understanding. We're now up to something nearer 97% using the sort of the main speech engines, and it has been shown now that the development there really is understanding almost everybody that comes in. Clearly, there will be some challenges, but it's come on leaps and bounds, and certainly dialects can now be understood. There are lots of this. The development has been going in to understand not just the words but the intent, because different people say things in different ways as well. So yes, I think one of the ways that you can see that is possibly from some of the consumer devices where it's understanding the majority of the people out there, and this is using exactly the same speech engines in the background, and the artificial intelligence is training it to learn every day.
Thanks, Richard. The same person is also asking about the chatbots for example, acting as a translator. Is that a question that we can answer?
Yeah, so we've been working with Google platform that does for transcription. So both actually, if your input channel is text, we can then translate that. But also it can be input channel, could be voice, and then we transcribe that, can translate that, and then pass the transcription, either the audio back, or potentially even pass that translation to an agent if the platform is there to assist an agent as well. So translation is definitely becoming a possibility with the technology stacks out there.
Thank you. We've got one final question here. If we want to do a proof of concept, how easy will it be, and can it be done for a reasonable price? I'll pass that over to Richard.
So, yeah, I think I mentioned earlier, Enghouse provides software that is accessible to everybody. It's not just for the realms of the huge budgets. It is software that runs in a normal virtualized environment, and there's a sort of design studio that's used to build what you need, and then it's just a matter of how much access you need. So to start with, clearly with a proof of concept, you don't need to buy hundreds of licenses. You can start small and grow as you need to. I think clearly that we've said there is no one size fits all. Everybody's going to want a bot or a virtual assistant to do something different. Therefore, there isn't going to be a script we can just copy in that does what you want. We'll have examples of things that can be tweaked, so the professional services doesn't have to be huge. But I think it will come down to what you're trying to do, how complex is it, and how big a problem have you got? Because if customer we were speaking with last week has peaks where they just cannot handle the transactions that are going on, and they're losing customers because of it, they're prepared to spend some money to get this to work, because they can see that they can't fix the problem by taking on lots more agents just for a few hours a day, so that they want to fill in the peaks and also to extend their hours. So yes, they might need to spend a little bit more on more channels, but I think it depends. If you want to go the full hog and have full natural language understanding with the speech recognition, then yes, the budget's going to go up a little bit, but you can take this as far as you want. You can start adding voice biometrics to it, and as Anthony mentioned, transcribing things, pushing into databases. So by starting simple, absolutely this is affordable.
Okay, thank you very much, Richard and Anthony. If there's no more questions, we will move on to finishing off the webinar. So I'd just like to thank everybody for attending today's webinar on Shaping Up for Artificial Intelligence. If you have any other questions or would like to discuss your current AI challenges, please do contact Richard via email on richard.brown@activereach.net. Alternatively, if you would like to arrange a demonstration of the Enghouse communications portal, please get in touch with ActiveReach initially, and we will coordinate with Anthony to arrange a convenient time slot for that. We have also provided some handouts to accompany today's session. Please see the handouts section on your control panel to download these. Once you leave today's webinar, you will receive a short survey, and we would appreciate it if you would complete that and provide your feedback. You will also receive a follow-up email within the next few days with a link to view a recording of today's webinar. So on behalf of activereach, Enghouse Interactive and our speakers, thank you for joining us today and have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.